Welcome to Get Real with Brian Stuckey, an all-new program to get you real information about how real estate affects you, your family, and your community. Brought to you in part by Bankers Network Corporation. And now, Brian Stuckey.
Good evening. Welcome to Get Real. I'm Brian Stuckey, and I have a full, outstanding lineup for you tonight. I have Corinne Raffanti coming on. She's a real estate agent with Intero, and she's going to be talking about a little bit what's going on in the real estate market. We're going to be covering short sales, which a lot of people are interested in at this point. Next, I have Mark Jackson, the By the Number segment. He's a AAA insurance agent, and he's going to be talking about the different coverages. You can have your home, your auto, and everything else, and some of the discounts that are available to you. And then next in the weekly spotlight, I have Steve Clark coming on. He's an attorney locally here, and he's also a legal analyst that many of you have seen on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. And finally, in the lifestyle segment, I have Judy Verona Joseph coming on. She'll be talking about in August, there's a Italian festival coming up in Willow Glen, and you're going to want to hear about it. But first, in the property pages, I have Corinne Raffanti. I've known this guest for quite some time. We went to high school together back in the Lynbrook High School days, and Corinne Raffanti is my guest. And Corinne, you've been an outstanding real estate agent in the Valley for a while. You know the area. I don't know if you were born and raised here. I was born in O'Connor Hospital, but certainly you've been around. You know the Valley pretty well.
I do.
Yeah, and so what's going out there in the market? I mean, you've seen a lot of things over the years. What's this market like? Different from other ones or similar?
Different. It's been an interesting year, actually. And in fact, from this current July, from previous July last year, we've had quite a ride. It's been crazy, as most people have read in the papers and heard about everything that's happening with all the financing institutions and all. It was funny, about October, November, people used to feel sorry for me when I told them I was in real estate. They used to say, oh, I'm sorry, how's that going? Now I have to say it's going great. I mean, I think that just with everything that was going on in the financial markets, and it's sort of starting to settle down. Things are sort of shaken out, so to speak. Starting in March, I mean, we've had incredible sales, and we are up 31% in sales from just a year ago in June, 31%.
I think it's been a period of adapting to the uncertainty that it was almost like we had our own tsunami or 9/11 come right through. Not just here in Santa Clara Valley, but throughout the country, of course. But and I think that people had to adapt to, when I say the professionals like yourself, people felt sorry for you. We didn't know it was coming on the rise, I imagine. But so you feel like now it's a lot more stable?
I do. And I guess I feel that way just because we have had 7 months now of increased sales. Each month has increased. So that's a good sign for this area and for home sales in this area overall. Most of the homes that are selling are homes that have been considered more bargain type homes. A lot of bank-owned properties are selling quickly. A lot of and some are considered short sales. They're taking up probably the highest percentage of sales currently in the market.
Okay. Well, why don't you explain that a little bit? You mentioned, bank-owned and short sales, and a lot of people get confused, especially first-time home buyers. They don't know what that means, or even people that have bought a home before. Why don't you explain what a short sale is and a bank-owned?
So a short sale is not short. People say, oh, does that mean I put the offer in and then we close it tomorrow? No, a short sale is actually a very long process and can be. Banks are getting smarter, they're adapting now, and it's taking less time. A short sale, the difference is that the homeowner still, in many cases, lives in the house. Sometimes they're still maintaining payments, other times they're not. But the problem is that their total mortgages are higher than what the true value of the property is.
So when they're upside down or
they are upside down. That's exactly what it is, upside down.
Okay, so how do you get involved in the process of, because what you're doing is that you're not working so much on the behalf of the seller, are you? Or you work on the behalf of the buyer? How do you put that together?
Well, it kind of depends on the situation. We are working on behalf of the seller in a short sale, in that we still need to get their signatures on the contract and all. They have their part to do as far as sending in their hardship package and everything to get approved to even do a short sale. The lender has to approve it, but we really are working directly with the banks, with the lenders, and it's a challenging thing. It takes a lot of diligence to get through to them and to talk to them.
Yeah, so you're trying to match a buyer and a seller together in this situation with the authorization and the vote, approval with the bank.
Exactly. There's a process involved, and I think, what an agent really needs to do is they just need to be willing to do what it takes to follow through and really be on the phones a lot and just know how to weave a way around the...
Well, you probably need to just say, look at bank, this is the situation you're dealing with. I do have buyers in this situation who come, you need to work with us. And it's getting them to say that. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Okay.
And that is the bottom line. And the bottom line is almost always, in fact, always, a bank is in better position to accept a short sale and take some money up front rather than letting the property go into foreclosure.
Okay. What would you recommend to buyers then in a situation like this? Is there anything that they need to do in particular in both the resale and on a short sale?
What I'd recommend to buyers, particularly those that are interested in short sales, and again, a lot of them comprise a marketplace in the under $700,000 in our area. A lot of those are short sales and bank-owned properties. I would recommend that they be willing to be patient and definitely align themselves with an agent that does know what they're doing as far as short sales and is willing to be persistent and do what it takes in making the calls and helping the other agent that's involved. If I'm working with a buyer, I'm going to be working closely with that listing agent to try to help get the deal together in the shortest amount of time.
Yep. And we ran out of time. We won't be able to talk about sellers, but I'd love to have you come on some other time, and we'll dig more into this.
Great.
Corinne,
thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Corinne. Corinne Raffanti has been my guest. She's with Intero Real Estate. If you'd like to get a hold of her, you can get a hold of me by going to brian@4bestloan.com or 408-269-8366, and I'll make that happen for you. We'll be right back with Mark Jackson on By the Numbers segment. I'm excited to have Mark Jackson on my program. He's somebody I met a little while ago. I did a transaction for him. That's not the reason why I came on the show. The reason why is because I love getting a perspective from insurance agents out there. A lot of people naturally have to have insurance, and Mark is an outstanding individual, and I trust what you have to say, Mark, is the bottom line, is that you have a lot of integrity. So with that, a lot of people, when they buy a home, and they even if they have, once you've got your insurance in store, a lot of people really don't go back and take a look at it again and see if they can improve upon it or if they even need to at all. So when somebody comes into a situation, let's say I've got a client, they're getting ready to buy a house, and I say, get a hold of Mark. What are some of the things that of course you want to know the square footage of the home and all this. What are some of the things that people need to be prepared?
We actually run through something called an ISO home value. And basically what that does, it captures the interior and exterior value of the home. We ask about 21 questions about the materials that are inside the home, the type of workmanship. And we work through a program that actually gives us a rebuild cost of that home. Generally in the Bay Area, you'll see it's anywhere from $250 to $400 a square foot to rebuild a home. Of course, there's some anomalies to that where homes will be more to rebuild, but for the most part, you'll see $250 to $400 a square foot to rebuild a house.
Okay. Now when they get insurance, now a lot of times, just like insurance, people, when I sit down with them, go through loan options and everything else, they're just not wired to deal with those numbers and those options and everything else. They just kind of trust me, to go ahead. Is there some, standard things that that people need to have in order to have the proper coverage?
Absolutely. Your basic coverages for homeowners would cover the dwelling, other structures, personal property, loss of use, liability, and then there's other endorsements that you can add on to add additional protection for your home and for your personal belongings. Of course, there's different deductible options, and what we like to do is we like to sit down and find out what the value of that home is, what the needs of the insureds are. You know, not everybody has the same type of personal property, so we want to make sure that we're protecting them properly, and we do some itemized questions to do that. You know, the dwelling, of course, covers the main house. Other structures can cover detached garages or detached buildings or fences. What people don't realize is sometimes you can even use that to go towards the main dwelling if there's a loss and you need to have additional protection. Not all companies are the same. Like with AAA, we actually insure your house at a set amount, but we also include an additional 50% on top of that to make sure you have that buffer zone, because we never want our insureds to be underinsured. That's very important.
Okay. Now, there's other insurance too, is that naturally we're in an earthquake zone and people consider earthquake insurance. And I don't have earthquake insurance, and sometimes that might not be the smartest thing to do, but I guess we kind of roll the dice and just, I talk more to the geological people to predict when the insurance, and maybe I'll get it a month before or something like that. But here, is that unwise?
Well, here's the thing. You'll find that the average homeowner doesn't have earthquake insurance. In fact, they think the number is anywhere from 8 to 12% of homeowners have earthquake insurance. The thing about earthquakes, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So it's always a good idea to sit down and see how that can fit your needs. I mean, everybody can use earthquake insurance. Of course, some people are more susceptible in the area, the geological area that they live in, and that's something to take into consideration. But you definitely want to make sure that, number one, your home is insured correctly, and then, of course, to go further with the earthquake protection. We insure through CEA, which is the largest insurer of earthquake insurance in the nation. They have over $8 billion in assets, and the nearest competitor has under $1 billion in assets. So it's really important to make sure that the insurance company you go with has the assets in the event that there's a large-scale loss, so that they can pay out for those, because a lot of people don't realize the payments can be prorated out.
Sure. That wouldn't be much fun to be with underinsured or insured, but underinsured with the insurer.
Absolutely.
If I said that correctly. But so another thing too that's kind of new is mold. You know, I have a neighbor right now where they found out that they had a pipe burst.
Right.
And it happened to be for the water heater underneath the house, and so hot steam was being sprayed underneath, and now it's got mold issues. And they were able to get insurance after the fact, you know, almost to where they didn't have mold insurance, but I don't know how that worked out that way. But is that something that people consider these days?
Exactly. Well, what I can tell you is that with AAA, we actually insure you up to $10,000 for mold. I've seen standard in the industry that it's usually around $5,000 with other companies, and if that's something you'd want to talk over with your insurance agent to find out when you do a review. I suggest doing a review of your homeowner's insurance and even your auto insurance once a year.
Okay.
I mean, things change. Life changes all the time, and your needs change all the time.
With the auto insurance, I know there's discounts, you know, that you get. We briefly just have a minute left, but so people for AAA and some of the other insurance, you'll combine the two and give people a discount.
You get multiple policy discounts for home. You can get new home discounts for fire and burglar alarm. You get discounts for being over age 65. For the auto, you get mature driver. Teen Smart is very important. If you have teenagers in the house, you definitely want to look into that program, because it can save you up to 20%. You get discounts for a good student, good driver, as I said, multi-vehicle discounts. There's just a number of discounts that you get combining your home with your auto, and also other lines of insurance too.
Okay. Well, Mark, thanks for being my guest tonight.
Thank you.
Mark Jackson's been my guest. There we go. Mark Jackson, Gopher, has been my guest. He's with AAA. If you have any questions for Mark, please get a hold of me, Brian at 4bestloan.com, or 408-269-8366. Next up, we have Steve Clark coming on. He's on my Spotlight segment. Back by popular demand is Steve Clark, you know, by my demand, because I love having him on the program. It's not too often that I can say I've interviewed somebody that's been with Larry King or discussed things with Larry King, Nancy Grace, and some of the others that you see on the cable news. But you know what? I gave you your start, Steve.
You did, Brian. Thank you very much for getting me in this business. I always appreciate coming on with an old buddy from high school.
Well, it's nice having you on. Actually, you and I go way back when we were both auctioned off, you know, and for a cancer, benefit, and we had to take the catwalk, which is very uncomfortable.
That's true, Brian. That's before I was married.
It was way before you were married, so let's make that clear. But it's fascinating when you think about. I'm one of those guys, and I was telling you before we started shooting. I start at CNN and I go to MSNBC, and I'll go back and forth. And there's always legal, it's a cable news where they're talking about sensational cases. And it captivates people, the American public, and everything else. But it's amazing to me how the media, more than anything else, is that they've got their reporters out there. They're, when it first starts, they got the videotape of the potential victim or the victim that in this, whatever situation is, and then from there they just start digging and everything else. So investigative reporting has been incredible when it comes to legal cases and everything else.
That's right, Brian. What you're seeing is an evolution of media covering a case, such as a high-profile case like Scott Peterson, to almost becoming an investigative arm of the case, assisting or hopefully assisting the police. And I can give you a great example of that. A lot of people have heard about this terrible murder up in Tracy, California, a young girl killed by the Sandra Cantu murder case. And that case was actually broken in part by the media because the searches that were going on for Sandra were being covered by national media outlets, and everyone wanted stories with witnesses, people who knew the family, and in the process of interviewing those people, at the same time the police were conducting their investigation, a lot of these reporters were able to get statements from people, and it turns out that one of the people they talked to was Melissa Huckabee, the Sunday school teacher that Sandra Cantu went to the Sunday school and lived in the same motorhome park in Tracy. And what the police saw with those media interviews was an inconsistency in what she was telling a reporter to what she had told the police. And what led the police to arrest her was that inconsistency. So, obviously the police need to conduct an investigation independent of a news agency, but you're seeing that, and you saw that in a little bit with Scott Peterson when he went on national TV with Diane Sawyer. People started to say, wait a minute, this isn't a witness or a husband, this is a potential defendant. So it's a very interesting evolution of the media getting involved in these cases, particularly these high-profile cases.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about that, yes, they a lot of times they don't quite break the case, but they're able to, but they can certainly point to the suspects and everything else. But but what's interesting is that they can also, you heard the defense lawyer said this has already been tried in the media and everything else. So they're being manipulated by attorneys, don't you think? At some,
Sure.
on both sides, they can hurt a defense.
There's the court in the courtroom, and then there's the court of public opinion. So for an attorney now, especially a defense attorney in a high-profile case, something like this Tracy murder case, you actually need to start talking about your case way before you get into the courtroom, because that case is being seen on national TV, local TV, and that can affect a potential jury pool. So it's important for a defense attorney. And another good example is the BART shooting case involving a BART officer who shot somebody on the platform. That case has been tried in the media as well, and it's a very hot case in the community. People have lots of opinions about it. One of the mistakes that the defense made is they didn't get their story out, and so now you're sort of behind the eight ball when you're trying to pick a jury. So it's very important in a high-profile case to really be able to control the media, get your story out in a way that makes sense, and also doesn't backfire on you later by committing to something that maybe you wish you didn't say.
Well, it's interesting that you say you got to get your story out. And what's interesting about that is that, one, is that as soon as the first thing you need to do is get an attorney to go ahead and formulate your plan. It's almost like a marketing plan.
Well, it is,
your client,
it is.
And so you've got to get your word out, and which is just, it's just fascinating because
Right.
you say you don't want to try it through the media, but yet that's what happens.
And you have to be able to respond to that. And that's not in every case, obviously. The media doesn't have time for that. But these high-profile cases, it's vital for an attorney and a prosecutor to be able to marshal the case with the media and be able to give them enough information so you can get your story out. And it's not so much that you're telling your story, but you're rebutting the story that the other side's getting out. It can become almost there's more going on outside the courtroom than inside, and that's why you see gag orders, because at some point the judges say, wait, this is too much. We've got to put a stop to this. We want this case tried in the courtroom, not out on the courthouse steps. So it's an important balance, but it is critical for an attorney in a high-profile case to really marshal the media attention he's getting. It's damage control in any case.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about a gag order, which seems kind of interesting. There's a gag order, which means that the both sides, prosecution and the defensive side, they're not to talk about the case with the media, correct?
Right.
But there's always going to be leaks with that. So is that...
It's partially effective, but in some ways the courts are sort of in a difficult position, because if you don't allow the defense attorney and the prosecutor or the actual participants to talk about the case, you have other people talking about the case who have less information about it. So it's a double-edged sword, because if it's a high-profile enough case and the national media is looking at the case, you're going to have a lot of people that want to talk about it. And let's look at the Michael Jackson situation. There were people all over the country that were interested in that case, so that a lot of legal analysts were talking about it and basing it on not always being in the courtroom and just sort of general strategy when the participants were not allowed to talk about the case. So it's a double-edged sword. It's important, I think, when it becomes to the point where attorneys go too far, they're prejudicing a person's right to a fair trial. But clearly, that's something that an attorney needs to be able to do.
Well, it's interesting because Mark Garagos, who people have seen, he's done a lot of high-profile cases, including Michael Jackson. But what was amusing about it is that it almost is, I don't know if it's amusing or it's distasteful, is that when his first initial comments against Michael Jackson were towards like he's guilty, or they were very discriminatory towards him, if that's not too harsh of a word. Then he turns out, being his attorney, he's kind of changed his tune.
Well, attorneys are used to arguing both sides of any case, and they take one position and then they're supposed to argue the same way for the other position.
Yeah.
Clearly, if you've been on national TV and you've been talking about, for example, Scott Peterson, he must be guilty, and then you're now going to represent Scott Peterson in court, that's something that some people may look upon as being disingenuous and not fair. But to Mark Garagos' credit, he was a fine lawyer and he did a good job, with what he had to work with. So, yeah, I mean, that's part of the media interest in the case, and people are talking about these cases, and sometimes the families want to hire the people that are national profile kind of lawyers like Mark Garagos.
Well, they know how to handle it.
That's right. That's very important.
So now, in these high-profile cases, what are some of the difficulties that you run into?
Well, it's obviously you need to focus on your case, the facts of your case, working your case up. And when there's so much national media attention, you can spend too much time worrying about what the media is doing. Obviously, you need to stay focused. You can't respond to every accusation and allegation, because a lot of TV shows have people with two opposing points of view. That's what makes them interesting. You can't get caught up in that. You really need to focus on your case. That's the most difficult thing, I think, about these high-profile cases. They become never-ending media stories, and if you want to respond to every story, you don't have time to work on your case. Really important.
Yep. We just have a couple minutes left, but I'm going to go on the lighter side.
Sure.
With all the interesting personalities that you've talked to Larry King, you've talked to Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace would be the most difficult for me. I mean, because she'll cut you off. You didn't get cut off today, but you can get cut off on her and slapped around a little bit too. So, but who's been a fun personality for you?
They're all fun in their own way, and each host has their own way of doing things, and each show is a different show. I've been on with some of the real high-profile guys, and they are tough. They are tough on their guests, and that's what so when you go on these shows, you better be ready to talk about your position and defend your position. I think that's the most important thing, and to enjoy it. It's you can be on the hot seat, but it is a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it. So it's something I hope to keep doing, and it is a pleasure though to hear Larry King on the other side of the microphone and be able to talk to an icon like that, or Bill O'Reilly, or all of these people. It's just been a real exciting part of my business.
Well, that's why I wanted you to feel a little bit like Larry King. That's why I wore this tie right now.
Well, you didn't have the suspenders though.
Yeah. Steve Clark's, here we go, Gopher. There we go. Steve Clark's been my guest. You can see him, catch him on CNN and MSNBC, Fox, all that lineup right there. But also, he's a local attorney here, so be watching out for his cases here. But Steve Clark's been my guest. If you have any questions for him, get a hold of me, Brian@forbestloan.com or 408-269-8366. We'll be finalizing everything here on the show tonight with Lifestyles with Judy Verona Joseph. Judy Verona Joseph is my guest. She's got her own program, by the way. If you haven't caught it before, it's called On the Town. And when is that, Judy, by the way?
Every Saturday at 5 p.m.
Saturday at 5 p.m. So, Judy, I want to talk to you a little bit about you're the Vice President of Promotions with the Italian American Heritage Foundation.
Yes.
And I got it out okay. And but you've got an event coming up in Willow Glen. By the way, too, I know that you're used to being the interviewer instead of the interviewee. So you're doing well so far.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on? I know that you're very much involved in the community. I've interviewed some interesting guests myself, but you've really interviewed a lot of interesting guests. But tell me a little bit about what's going on in August.
Saturday, August 29th, and Sunday, August 30th, downtown Willow Glen, Lincoln Avenue. Close the street off for 2 full days, and that's from Willow to Minnesota, for those of you who are familiar with Lincoln Avenue. And we celebrate our 29th annual Italian Family Festa, our 3rd year in Willow Glen. And we have 2 stages, nonstop entertainment, about 60 arts and craft vendors, and the wonderful, delicious Italian food, and fabulous entertainers. For opera lovers, we have Bella Sorella, we have the Italian tenor Pasquale, we have a Frank Sinatra impersonator, Mr. Rick Ellis, accordion players, mandolin players.
Yeah, well, so it's all, you've already figured out exactly what's going on. It's just fine tuning at this point,
Yes.
correct? So Saturday, what time would it open up on the 29th, August 29th?
Well, we have the opening ceremonies at 11 a.m. We have some of the dignitaries come out and help us celebrate. And it closes at 9 p.m. on Saturday night. And Sunday we open 11 a.m. again, and then we close at 6 p.m.
Is there a cost to this?
It's free, so I welcome all of your viewers to come
People
down
love
and be
hearing
Italian
that.
for the day.
But they got to pay for their lasagna or whatever else, of
Yes.
course.
Meatball sandwich or cannolis.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not going to have bocce ball out there, but that's one they were.
Oh,
they?
we are.
Oh, you are?
We are. We're going to have bocce ball.
I should presume anything. So they're actually going to have bocce ball courts out there that people can come out there and
The
roll
court
ball.
is already built, and they're going to transport it down either Friday night or early Saturday morning. So we're going to set it up, and we're going to have some expert bocce ball players, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, and there's music at various times or throughout, or?
Oh, throughout. There'll be a schedule coming out soon, and there'll be some strolling musicians as well. We even have a stilt walker who dresses up as an Italian chef.
All right. Well, we're looking forward. Judy, thank you for coming on the program. It's a short little thing. I'm looking forward to having you come on again.
Thank you, Brian.
Once again, that's August 29th and 30th. It's in Willow Glen. If you don't know where Willow Glen is, then go find out. It's a beautiful little town there. So I want to thank Judy for coming on the program. I want to thank all my guests here on Get Real. I want to thank Corinne Raffanti. I want to thank Mark Jackson, Steve Clark, and Judy Verona Joseph. We'll see you next week on Get Real.